My name is Michael Amar Calfee. My middle name goes back to the second president of the Republic of Texas. I am a fourth generation native Texan, and my name was handed down to me from several members of my family. My grandmother was the latest before me to have the name. I am not a historian with letters after my name. I am just someone who is curious about the history of Texas you don't often hear about. I'm not trying to tell you everything there is to know about a place or an event. I'm just hoping you will get a taste and then yearn to visit these places yourself to learn more.
All right. You got me? Okay, we're here at Fort Belknap at their Fort Belknap Days celebration, which is just incredible. It's just awesome. If you want to know anything about the history of Tech, anytime you see a movie that's got the cavalry and the Indians and all that type of stuff in it, they're really talking about either Fort Belknap or Fort Richardson. Let's be honest, okay? and everything that happened. And if you watch Lonesome Dove, the movie Lonesome Dove, I'm sorry, that happened here, okay? It really did. I kind of think of it as a little bit of plagiarism myself. Now, I went to West Texas A&M University. On the campus of West Texas A&M University is this cool, really cool museum, the Plains Museum. And in that museum, they've got Charlie Goodnight's Chuckwagon pantry. He tried to figure out how am I going to do, when he's going to do this cattle drive, right? That how am I going to do provisions and all this type of stuff? Well, he found a pantry, put it on the back of a Conestoga wagon, I guess, and did this. And when you see those chuck wagons and all these, movies about cattle drives and stuff like that, Charlie Goodnight invented that. And our guest here today, Jim Hammond, soon to be Dr. Hammond, which I'm really proud of for some strange reason, is going to tell us about how cool it is and the history of Charlie Goodnight and Oliver Loving and Fort Belknap, right? Okay.
And so, let's just talk about the Chuckwagon for a minute. Whenever he originally created the Chuckwagon, it was actually designed for a team of 8 oxen to pull that wagon. So that means it was extremely heavy. Well, what they realized as soon as they crossed the first river, this is not going to work. We're not going to be able to go on a cattle drive with all this weight on this wagon. So as they went on their drive, they kept taking stuff off of the wagon and finally got it down to where it was light enough to maneuver.
But how many people were employed in like a cattle drive?
A small number, you're going to have 12, usually about 24. And you have the cook, the Chuckwagon cook was the guy you went to for everything. He had just as much power as the trail boss would. So anyway, and we have just gotten legislation sent to the state. We're trying to get it passed to make Fort Belknap the home of the Chuckwagon. We know the Chuckwagon was built originally in Parker County, but the first time it was actually used would be here at Fort Belknap. And so Parker County could claim the birthplace of the Chuckwagon. Fort Belknap could claim the home of the Chuckwagon. But anyway, and what happened is Charles Goodnight, he had this contract to take beef to Fort Stanton, and he had to get it there. He knew he couldn't cross the Yonah-Westacott, the Great Plains, because of the Indian problems and because of the lack of water. So what they decided to do was something that was completely unusual with cattle drives. Normally cattle drives left Texas, went north to the markets. What he did was they dropped southwest and went towards the Pecos River and then cut up north into New Mexico and then to deliver the beef to Fort Stanton. And he actually met with Oliver Loving just a few weeks before they went on the cattle drive. Now, Oliver Loving was an older man at the time. And so what Oliver Loving was retiring, is pretty much is what he was doing. Charles Goodnight went to him and said, hey, listen, I've got this contract I've got to fulfill to Fort Stanton. And I need you, because you're just an excellent cattle driver, I need you to I want you to go with me and help me with this. And Oliver Loving agreed. And of course, they do 3 cattle drives, and on the 3rd cattle drive is the one where Oliver Loving is eventually killed at. And if you, in Lonesome Dove, when Augustus McCrae, you know, he loses his leg, well, Oliver Loving, it was different. He got shot in the arm with an arrow. So there's kind of the difference there. But Lonesome Dove does a really good job showing the difficulties of what cattle drive would have been like. But it all started right here in Fort Belknap. They had cattle down in what's called the Keachai Valley, down in Palo Pinto, and then he had cattle just west of Fort Belknap across the Brazos River. And what they did was they brought those cattle from the Keachai Valley through Fort Belknap and met up with the cattle at across the Brazos River, and then that's when it took off from there. So that's just kind of a quick overview of how the cattle drive works and the relationship with Charles Goodnight and Oliver Loving at Fort Belknap.
And how the Chuckwagon was born and used.
And Charles Goodnight, his history at Fort Belknap is a lot deeper than just the cattle drive. He was he enlisted into the Texas Rangers here at Fort Belknap.
Oh.
Some say it was actually here in the building, in the commissary building. And we actually have his, whenever you enlisted into the Texas Rangers, they would write your name down and they would write how much your horse was worth and then how much your equipment was worth. Well, everybody's horses were $60. That's how much it was. Charles Goodnight, $140. That's how much his horse. He had a good horse.
I guess.
Yeah. So his tack and everything that he had was 3 times more than everybody else. And then this is also where, if you're familiar with the story of Cynthia Ann Parker.
Right.
Okay, this is also where Charles Goodnight and the Texas Ranger Company left out of to go in eventually to what is called the Battle of the Peace River.
Right.
So
and caught her and brought her back here to be cleaned up and re-civilized, which didn't work that well.
And another Charles Goodnight story here. This is actually where he met his first wife, here at Fort Belknap, and she ends up becoming a teacher in Weatherford. So he has a very, very deep history here at Fort Belknap that a lot of people don't realize.
Who becomes a teacher in Weatherford?
Charles Goodnight's first wife, Molly.
Okay, but
he met her here because she was a teacher.
But isn't Oliver buried in Weatherford or Mineral Wells?
This is Charles Goodnight's wife. Charles Goodnight's wife.
I know, but I mean, isn't Oliver Loving buried down there?
Because they had a relationship. I mean, everything was kind of at that time, because Fort Belknap was on the frontier. Everything at that time was kind of based out of Weatherford.
Oh, okay.
And so that was kind of the natural home base of everything. Fort Belknap, especially during the Civil War time, was a very hectic place. It was a little safer to be in Weatherford.
Yeah, well, in Lonesome Dove, who was it? Gus wanted his body transported back to Texas. But in real life, Oliver Loving wanted his body transported back and buried in Weatherford.
Right outside of Oregon. Yep.
Yeah,
That's right.
and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that's how that kind of works.
Yep.
Well, we're going to wrap that up, or I'd get you talking about the ill-fated Santa Fe expedition. And
Do that at a different time. We can do that.
yeah, we'll do that. Yeah, I know you're busy.
All right. Well, thanks again for watching. I hope you guys.
Do it again. Start over. Hurry.
All right, here we go. All right, thanks again for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Remember, these YouTube channels live or die with your likes. Please take a moment and click that like button. I'd really appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Watch. Keep your eyes open. Who knows where we'll be next time.